Three lines from the top of Tezvav Med Beis. The Toni Tana Kamed Rabbi Yochanan.
No way, you're done. You finished with it.
The Toni Tana Kamed Rabbi Yochanan. There's a Tana who learned in front of Rabbi Yochanan, and he said the following: Kol mitzvahs lo yisaseh, any lav sheyesh ba kumaseh. Tezvav Med Beis. 3 lines from the top. Weiter in Shas Reb Shol. The Toni Tana Kamed Rabbi Yochanan. Kol mitzvahs lo yisaseh. Kol mitzvahs lo yisaseh. Sheyesh ba kumaseh. Any lav that has an aseh attached to it, which means it's followed by an aseh, it's called a lav hanitik la'aseh. Kiyam aseh sheba. If you violated the lav, you transgressed the lav, and then you fulfilled the aseh afterwards. Yeah, you repaired it with the aseh potter. Then you're potter, you don't get malchus. Bittul aseh sheba. But if you somehow uprooted the aseh, and now it's impossible to fulfill that aseh, chayiv. You're chayiv. So 2 extremes. If you're mekayim the aseh right after you're over the lav, then you're potter from malchus. But if you're mevatel the aseh, you completely uproot the aseh, now it's impossible to do the aseh, then you're chayiv. Omar leiser bichas maika amrit. Slow down. What are you saying? You have to. You're being inconsistent in your statement. If you say that kiyam, that he fulfills the aseh, potter is potter, then the opposite of that would be loy kiyam, which means he didn't fulfill it, then he's chayiv. And if you say the seifa bitel chayiv, that if it's mevatul the aseh, you uprooted the aseh that you cannot do it anymore, that's when you're chayiv, then the opposite of that would be loy bitel, potter. As long as you didn't uproot the aseh, you didn't nullify the aseh, then you'd still be potter, even if you didn't fulfill it. But you still have the possibility to fulfill it.
The diuk from the reish is the opposite of the diuk from the
Exactly. The diuk from the reisha, exactly those words, doctor. The diuk from the reisha is the opposite diuk of the seifa. You're being inconsistent with your statement. Says the Gemara, so Rabbi Yochanan told him, Tini bitloi v'le bitloi. Really, what you have to say it is, any lavanitik laseh, if you're mevatel it, you're chayiv malchus. And if you're not mevatel it, even if you didn't fulfill it, but you could still fulfill it potentially, that's when you're potter. Reb Shimon ben Lakish says, no. Kimoi v'loi kimoi. It doesn't depend on bittul. It depends on kiyum. If you fulfill the aseh right away after you're over the lav, then you're not chayiv. You're potter. And if you weren't mekayim it, even if you still have the potential to be mekayim it, but you weren't mekayim it, then you are chayiv. So that is the machlokas Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish by a lav hanitik la'aseh. Do you have to be mekayim the aseh right away in order to be potter from malchus, or as long as you could be mekayim the aseh, you weren't mevatel it, that's when you're potter from malchus.
When's the time limit when you say right away? What kind of
So it's got to be miyad. What's called miyad? What's called right away? That's what you want to know. Okay, what do you say? What's right away? What's considered right away? Where's lachayad mean?
Right away, the lachayad.
Means you come to Bezdin. Bezdin says, you want to be mekayim it? If you don't, we'll give you malchus. Bezdin gives them the option. So we're up to Tezvav Omed Beis b'maika miflagi. It's basically 6 lines, 7 lines in the bottom.
You know what? I think ad regel.
No, that's with karbonas, balta acher. You're talking about balta acher.
Yeah.
That's by a neder, balta acher, karbonas. That's a different sugi. Over here, I think it's when you come to Bezdin summons you and Bezdin says, you got to get malchus. Says, you want to do the aseh or not? If you don't do the aseh, Bezdin will give you malchus. If you do the aseh, then you're potter.
What is the limit? Okay, I'm going to wait 10 years. So.
No, so Rish Lakish says, there's no waiting 10 years. Bezdin gives you an ultimatum right away. We'll give you malchus if you don't do the aseh. You could choose to do the aseh. If he doesn't do the aseh, he's potter. But if he does, he says, oh, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Bezdin says, no, you get malchus today. So that's Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, as long as you can do it, even if it's 10 years. Doesn't matter. Even if it's 10 years, as long as you weren't mevatel it, you're potter from malchus because you can still do it. So over there in Rabbi Yochanan, you're saying there's no expiration date. בסדר, אבל ככה זה הדין של לאו הנתק לעשה.
בן אדם יכול למות מחר, מה?
Right.
בן אדם לא יכול למות מחר, מה זה? אישה זה...
It's like it's just hanging there. Until
yeah, you're still potter unless you do something to uproot it.
He can't do it. So
right.
Point,
yeah.
So
yeah.
It's hanging.
It's hanging. Yeah. Now, Lamaisa the Gemara wants to know, but Micah Miflagi, what is the crux? Love this word. I learned this word in high school. What's the crux of the machlokes? Yeah, yeshiva. Remember that? Right, the yeshiva days. What's the crux of the machlokes?
It's not the best word.
No, what is it? Give me a better one.
Crucifixion. It's not a good word.
From crucifixion?
Yeah.
Here, I'm using it in shiurim. I'm thinking I'm sounding like a big, like the juxtaposition with the crux and all these kinds of words.
The art school, I guess, won't use such a.
You know? One second, are you sure? Not the cross, the crux.
I know. Crux is
The shorsh is the same
I'm gonna look it up.
Xmas.
Really?
Yeah.
Crux comes from cross, but Xing out the SS?
Yes.
Really? You know this?
I'm looking it up.
Okay, one second. Rocky's looking it up. We're checking it up right away. What's crux?
It means cross. It comes from the
Oh,
Latin
yeah.
word crux, which means cross.
Never mind. Oy vavoy. What's the Yisoid HaMachloikas? Never mind. Wow,
It comes from the
unbelievable.
Latin word.
I learned
Crux,
something new
cross.
tonight. You hear this? Crux is a Christian Catholic
I know.
Yashka word.
Yeah, you said in honor of the Pope, the guy.
Oh my goodness.
I think that the last time you went to the Vatican, you made the last biru netotot, הרגת את Pope.
You guys should hear this. You guys should
What is it? What is this? What is this, doctor?
There's a drink called Freud.
LaCroix, the seltzer.
Yeah.
It means cross. And there's no U in that. And it was a little funny.
Oy vavoy. I had the same conversation with the naked drinks. No, there was like real. Okay, I don't want to get sidetracked over here. But you should know, I went to the airport. I fought with my daughter. My daughter pronounces it naked.
Oh.
So she's like, it can't be. There's an OU on a drink that has the word naked. It's just not. Anyway, so I went to the airport and I bought myself a drink, like one of those naked drinks. And the guy in the checking counter tells me, "Oh, you're buying a naked," and I'm like, "What'd you just say?" He's like, "Yeah, we don't pronounce it that way." So machloikas atachtoinim, exactly how you pronounce that. But either way, you have an OU on a drink like LaCroix, which is inappropriate. Araya starting. It's such an interesting conversation,
The
no?
Gemara has the word naked in it.
Really?
Arum. What's arum?
Arum is cunning.
Right, but it could also be used as
Yeah,
unclothed.
yeah.
Technically.
Yeah, right.
But you're right. I guess just technically.
But to bring it into the home of I know a family, they don't buy that drink
Really?
because of the name. Yeah, we don't want to
Now you can't
get the
LaCroix.
naked drink. Like what do you? Yeah.
הנחש היה ערום מכל חיית השדה.
Nachon. Yeah. Anyways, so that's the story. So b'maika miflagi. So what is the yisoid of the machlekes? See, one word can derail us. Basra safek and miflagi. Mar savar asra safek shma asra. Mar savar asra safek leish asra. This is very interesting. So anytime you want to be mechayiv somebody malchus, we know you need Adam warning him that if you are violating, if you transgress this lav, you're going to get malchus. So he might transgress it or might not. That's not called asra safek, right? That's the regular din of asra. Asra means you got to warn the guy. If he's over, he's going to be mechayiv malchus. But what if, even if he does the lav, it's not clear if he's going to follow through and still be chayiv malchus? That's called asra safek, because when you're giving the asra, it's unclear, even if he does what you're telling him he cannot do, whether will be over on the lav and be chayiv malchus. So Rabbi Yochanan says, hasra safek shma asra. Even if it's ala safek and it's not clear, it's still called asra. And what's bitloi v'la bitloi? Anytime you have a lav that's dependent on an asay, which means you need to be mevatil the asay in order for the lav to be complete, in order to get malchus, that would be asra safek in such a case, right? Because even if he's over on the lav, you're not sure if he's going to take it all the way to the bank and be mevatel the asay to be chayiv on the lav. In order to be chayiv on the lav, you have to be mevatel asay. So it's a safek if he's mevatel the asay. So how's the asra good? Must be he holds asra safek shma asra. It's dependent on the machlekes of asra safek. And Rish Lakish says asra safek lo shma asra, and therefore you'll never be able to give somebody malchus if you say depends on being mevatel and asay afterwards. Because if you have to wait till he's mevatel the asay, then the asra to begin with will always be a safek. Why will it be a safek? Because you're not sure, even if he violates the law, whether he's mevatel asay afterwards. So it cannot be that it depends on bittul. It has to be on kiyum, which is right away, and therefore won't be asra safek. So that is the two machloikis that depends one on the other. Rish Lakish says kiyum v'lekima has to hold kiyum v'lekima, because if it's bitla v'lebitla, then it always is asra safek, and he holds asra safek lo yishma asra. And Rabbi Yochanan says no, you could hold that bitla v'la bitloi, and the asra wouldn't be an issue because asra suffix shma asra. What do you say, Rishal?
Who gives the Makkos?
Bezdin gets the malchus. Shliach Bezdin, yeah. Bezdin appoints a shliach, yeah. Yeah. Gemara says va'azdu tamayu, and they both go according to their timing. In other words, we find a machloikis that really depends on this shaila whether hasra suffix shma asra or lo shma asra. The itmer. Shavua, a guy makes a shavua. He says, Shavua sha'oichel kicker zayim. I swear I'm going to eat this sandwich today. Yeah? Sha'oichel kicker zayim, va'over hayoim v'lo yachla. And the day passes, and he didn't eat it. So Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish both say, Damar Tavayu ain't a loika. He doesn't get malchus. Rabbi Yochanan man a loika. You know why? Because it's a lav she'en b'maisa. The lav she'en b'maisa. Chol lav she'en b'maisa. And loika. Why? Because the way that I'm violating the shvuah is by sitting still. Because I'm not eating it. I said I'm going to eat it, so I wasn't fulfilling the shvuah. So the lav was a lav she'en b'maisa. I sat still. I didn't do it. No, it's a different reason. So the question is, how is he over on the Shavua? So he says, Rish Lakish says, he doesn't get malchus in such a case, because Asra Safik, V'chol Asra Safik, Lo Shma Asra. Why is it Asra Safik? Because the Edom come and warn him in the beginning of the day, make sure to eat it. And here, it happens at the end of the day. Gemara Ksuba says, in order for Asra to be a good Asra, it has to be Terch Kedibur of the Aveira.
So how's that possible?
So here, you'll never be able to have it. If the Asra is in the beginning of the day, he could still be Mekayim in the end of the day. So it's a suffix. B'shas Asra, if he's going to do the lav, you can over the lav, because you can wait another 4 hours and then eat it. So it's a suffix. So such a case is Asra suffix, and Asra suffix Lo Shma Asra. That's why it doesn't get malchus according to Rish Lakish. Yeah, what?
So, okay, so he says that it doesn't get malchus because the nature of the straw is not possible.
Because this case doesn't lend itself to Asra's Vadai. Because if the Asra happens at the beginning of the day, you could still be Mekayim it La'achar Kededibur much later, and it's a suffix if you're going to Mekayim it or not. Right? In order for Asra to be Asra's Vadai, it has to be Terch Kededibur of him being over on the Lav. But here, he can actually be over on the Lav at the end of the day, which is 5 hours after the Asra. So those 5 hours, the suffix whether it's going to be over on the Lav or not, that's Asra suffix. So Asra suffix, Lo Shma Asra, so therefore you don't get malchus. You have two reasons, Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, why it doesn't get malchus in such a case. Rabbi Yochanan says, Lav Shein B'maisa, and Rish Lakish says, because Asra suffix. So what do you see from here, by the way? Why doesn't Rabbi Yochanan say, because Asra suffix? Because Rabbi Yochanan holds Asra suffix Shma Asra. That wouldn't be a problem. He has to say, Lav Shein B'maisa. So you see, the Ozdul Tamayu. Says the Gemara, Tervayu Ali with Rabbi Yehuda, and they're both going according to Rabbi Yehuda. They're learning it from Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya will let the Brayso. I see man, the boy can ask man, the boy can be just rifle. Ba kasav let nasach le says salam shem like all of the Rabbi Yehuda. What do we have? We have by the Karban Pesach. You have to eat it by biker. You can't leave it over by morning, right? It has to be eaten up. So, what if a guy leaves over from the Karban Pesach? It's called noiser. And noiser is a lav. It's a lav. You're not allowed to leave over from the Karban Pesach. Aval yashasei. Be'esh tesroifu. If you're noiser, then you can burn it. So that's a lav hanitak la'asei. So Rabbi Yehuda says, Ein loiken olav. You don't get it because the Torah gave an asei. So Rabbi Yehuda's words, sounds like from Rabbi Yehuda's words, that if there wouldn't be an asei, then you would get malchus. So here you have to be medayik like this. Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan how you medayik it. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan dai kachi, time of the ba'akasav. It's only because he has an asay of be'esh tesroifu. That's why you don't get malchus. Haloi ba'akasav. But if you wouldn't have the asay of be'esh tesroifu, loika you would get malchus on what? On the lav of leisasiru menad biker. Even though it's a case of asra safik, right? Al masra safik shma asra. So you see in a case like that, asra safik shma asra. Rish Lakish dai kachi time. Rish Lakish says no. I learned it differently. From Rabbi Yehuda, you see the ba'akasav. The only reason why you're potter on malchus when you leave it over is because is asay of be'esh tesroifa. The Torah gave you an asay. Haloi ba'akasav. But if not for that asay that the Torah gave us, loika you would get malchus. Alma lav she'ein b'maisa loikan olav. Because loisasiru. How do you violate the lav of loisasiru? By doing nothing. Right? You're supposed to eat it. You don't eat it. That's a lav she'ein b'maisa. So Rish Lakish says from the fact that Rabbi Yehuda states that the only reason why you don't get malchus is because the Eish Tesroifu, there's an asay following the lav. Mashma, without the asay, you would get malchus, but why would you get malchus? Lav shein b'maisa. The nature of the lav is without a maisa. You're just sitting back and not eating it. So you see from here, lav shem b'maisa loiken olav. So you have a statement by Rabbi Yehuda.
Like-
You have Rabbi Yochanan medayik one way, Rish Lakish medayik another way.
לאו שאין בו מעשה,
Yeah. So loiken olav.
לוקים עליו.
Because the only reason why you don't get malchus by noiser is because the ish tesroifu yesh asay.
יש עשר דקות.
Mashma b'li asay as loiken. Lav she'en b'maisa. So Rish Lakish medayik lav she'en b'maisa ain't loiken. Lav she'en b'maisa loiken olav. So asks the Gemara, V'Rebbe Shimon ben Lakish, Nami havadai hasra asafiki. Why isn't he medayik like Rabbi Yochanan? Isn't this a case of hasra asafik? Why does he choose to be medayik that, you see lav she'en b'maisa loiken olav? Why aren't you medayik like Rabbi Yochanan? It's also a case of hasra asafik. So be medayik, you see hasra asafik shma hasra. Says the Gemara, no. Sover like idach Tana de Rabbi Yehuda. He learns like another Tana of Rabbi Yehuda, the Tanya. It's another brisa. We know you're not allowed to hit your parents, right? Your father. A person hits his father, even if it doesn't kill him, but if he's a Makkos yesh b'chabura, we learned in Sanhedrin, right? Then what happens? He gets misa b'chenek, right? Tremendous. So now, what if you have two, guy doesn't know who his father is? Let's say there's a guy in Harlem. So he doesn't know who his father is. So you have two men, and he hits both. Don't put this on YouTube.
Too late.
It'll get 10,000 views with comments. Don't worry about it. This is the way we go viral.
You almost got kicked off.
This is the way we go
You
viral.
almost got kicked off.
I almost got kicked off, really? Are you serious?
They gave us a little issue.
Wow. Because I mentioned the
Hamas.
bees. I said, Buni kedvarim, like Hamas. I said, a bunch of idiots were showing him, and it was like, he put it on YouTube. So we got like 1,000 people.
For hate speech?
For
We
hate
had a
speech.
couple comments. They just said that they took our verification rights away.
What does that mean?
Meaning, whatever, certain features that you can't use.
How many people do they have working on you? Like,
It's unbelievable.
2 billion Muslims.
It's unbelievable. Just on our video.
wow.
Just on our
What
video.
happened? What happened?
Oy vavoy. Okay, I'll tell you after. Okay, not important. But anyway, tell
Off the
you.
shiur.
Because you have two people. The guy doesn't know who his father is. He hits one, and then he hits another one. Or he curses one, and he curses the other one. Or he hits them both at once. Or chayiv. If you do it one after the other, you're potter. Why is he potter? You know why? Because they're all suffix. The Edom are going to be master on one. We're not sure if that's the father. The other one, we're not sure if that's the father. So each one is a Sarah Safik and a Sarah Safik loishma Sarah. So you cannot be chayiv on bezechas, only b'masachas. So what do you see from here? Like Rish Lakish holds that Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is a Sarah Safik loishma Sarah. Rabbi Yochanan Ami Avad Lav Shem b'Maisu. Ask the more same question Rabbi Yochanan. Why is Rabbi Yochanan medayik? That Sarah Safik Shmo Hasra, that's why you would get Malchus if not for Beish Desroifu. Be Medayik, that it's a Lav Shein B'Maisa, and you would get Malchus and Lav Shein B'Maisa the same way Shlokish is Medayik. Says the Gemara, who saw L'Kadam Arvida Barav Namaram Ritzchak Rabbi Yechon Rabbi Yudai B'Shem B'Reisek Lili. Kol Loisas Shabbat Torah, Lav Sheyesh B'Maisa Loikan Olav, Lav Shein B'Maisa Ein Loikan Olav, Chutz Men HaNishba, Umumer V'Makalas Chavir B'Shem. So here you have a Mefursha statement of Rabbi Yehuda B'Shem Rabbi Yisrael Lili that says that Lav Shein B'Maisa Ein Loikan Olav, and therefore the diak has to be like Rabbi Yochanan says, that if not for the asay of be'esh destroyed by noiser, you would get malchus not because lav she'en b'maisa, because lav she'en b'maisa alone doesn't give you malchus. It must be because it's asras sofik. Gemara asks, okay, but kasha the Rabbi Yehuda, it's still shver on the Rabbi Yehuda because still at the end of the day you have an inference by noiser from Rabbi Yehuda that says lav she'en b'maisa loikan olav, and here B'Shem Rabbi Yisrael says lav she'en b'maisa ein loikan olav. And you have a mefurish statement of Rabbi Yehuda by hitting a father that asra safik loishma asra. That's why hikka b'zechar you don't get malchus. And by noiser, it sounds like if not to beish desroifi, you would get malchus because asra safik shma asra. So you have mamash a stira in Rabbi Yehuda both ways by lav shein b'maisa and by asra safik. The Gemara answers, no, it's not a kasha. Either Rabbi Shem B'Lakish. Today tonight, Rabbi Yehuda. According to Shem B'Lakish, will answer that there are two tanoim according to Rabbi Yehuda. It's machlokes tanoim exactly what Rabbi Yehuda holds. And therefore it's not a stira. Machlokes to know exactly what Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is with regard to lav she'ein boy maisa. Ilu Rabbi Yochanan loy kasha hodi day hodi rabbi. It's machlokes whether over there by lav she'ein maisa he says B'Shem Rabbi Yisrael Glil. It's not him. So you have so yeah, according to Rabbi Yehuda, lav she'ein boy maisa loikin olav. B'Shem Rabbi Yisrael Glil he says ein loikin olav. B'Shem Rabbi he says B'Shem is Rabbi.
You know, because it has mitat l'aseh. No, it's like because it's a different lav shein b'maseh.
Where by noiser? Which case?
By notar, yeah.
Why?
It's different. Why? Because he has it. Because he has a tikkun לתקן אותו, יש לו עשה. יש לו עשה שנדק לעשה, שתוסף אותו, אז זה חייב להיות חטיבה אחת. אם זה לא חטיבה אחת, אם באמת לא שרפת, אז תלכה. אבל כל הזמן הזה, אתה לא לוקה.
Which כל הזמן הזה? בש"ס you still have... עד הבוקר או עד ש...
עד הזמן שיש לך האחרון לשרוף אותו.
הזמן של בית לשרוף, אין לזה, when is the...
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Tattoo.
Yeah.
Okay? לא תעשה שרדת ונכון. אז if you standing still and you're not helping,
then you're not chayav.
You're not chayav. Only the one that did it to you chayav.
Okay.
אז זה...
I assume we'll get to it later. No, this is good. It gets later in the parak. Like you're already up to...
זה לא תעשה. אבל זה לא תעשה, אבל...
No, it's later, right?
אתה לא עשית כלום, אסור לך.
I think the Gemara is going to talk about this later. Let's wait till this is going to do till later.
It's a little complicated.
But here
It's more complicated.
But here it says B'Shem his Rebbe. He says that he argues on his
I
Rebbe.
saw it in the Rambam.
I know.
I saw it in the Rambam not long ago.
Silent Vera. There's a little element there.
רק סיפור קטן, ישבתי בכולל היום, הכנתי את הדף, I was learning the kollel, I was praying the daf, so a guy comes over to me and I look up and I recognize him. 10 years ago he was in my class in 9th grade, a Talmud of mine. Can you imagine? I can't even say I'm saying 10 years ago. Cover my white hairs. Yeah, and he says to me, "Oh, Rebbe Shalom Aleichem." I was like, very nice to see you. And then we got to schmooze a little bit. He's learning in R Yisrael and he's dating and trying to get married while he's learning. It's hard, it's challenging. We talked for 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. They're about to walk away. Turns around, he says, "Rebbe, I got to thank you." I said, okay, finally somebody appreciates me. Yeah, what do you... I said, what do you want to... He said, last 7 years I'm having a really hard time sitting and learning. No, it's such a hard time. It's like I can't concentrate, I can't focus. I got so much going on. And I have ADD, ADHD, all kinds of these. And then I think about you. And I think how I was in your shiur in 9th grade, and you inspire me. So I quickly think back to the year that I taught him. I'm like, what happened that did I give a shiur that mamish was so memorable that it inspired him? So I said, oh, really? Tell me more. He says, look, I can't sit still. And then I struggle, and then I think of you, and I say, remember Rabbi Gold couldn't sit still either. I think I said, always running around, always couldn't sit still, and yet you're learning. So he's so he walks away, and I'm thinking to myself, it's unbelievable. Nothing that I said inspired him, you know what I mean? I guess he picked up that I also have ADD, you know what I mean? ADHD. And I can't sit still. And he's and that's what he chapped at 14 years old. He's 24 today. He's that's what I remember about you. I remember you jumping around, you can't sit still. Hey, you're giving a shiur. You're learning. The whole world. Okay, fine. I found it very amusing and very humbling.
This Daf Yomi will be perfect for him.
Yeah, exactly. So think more about it. Somebody takes, I have a nest right now in the back of my house. Just before Pesach, I did Shiluch HaKan, I mentioned it, and now I came back, and they're little chicklets. Eim alabonim, mamish. Eim alabonim is that they're tiny, can't fly yet, but they're in the nest. And if somebody takes eim alabonim, he's over alav, sikach eim alabonim, the Torah says, you're not allowed to take, Machlokes is showing him exactly what it means, whether you're not allowed to take the mother in the presence of the children, or you're not allowed to take the mother with the children. Whatever it means, but there's a lav, you can't take the mother either with the children or without the children. Either way, there's a lav. Rabbi Yehuda Merloika gets Malkus right away, ve'ena meshaleach. V'chacham ha'maimrim, meshaleach ve'ena loika. No, you can still send it away, and you don't get Malkus because it says shaleach to shalach. So the asay of shaleach to shalach allows you to repair the lav of loy sikach eim al habanim. Okay, so the Gemara says like this: Zeh klal. Chachamim say, "Kol mitzvahs loises sheyesh b'kum asay ein chayovin aleo." Anytime you have a lav anitak la'asay, a lav that says don't, and then there's an asay that follows and says if you did it, then if you over the lav, you can repair it with an asay, then you don't get malchus. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, ein lanu elozois v'oid acheres. You only have two cases from lavim that are menutak la'asay, that are connected to an asay. Only two alavim anitak la'aseis that you can get malchus on if you're mavatil the asay. Only two possible scenarios where you could be mavatil the asay and then get malchus on the lav. Okay. Which one? L'chi tashkach. One is shiluach hakan, right? What would be the case of being mevatel the asay of shiluach hakan after you're over the lav? We said yesterday, Rocky said yesterday, we just weren't up to it yet, but if you shech the mother, right, you take the mother with the kids, you shech the mother, now you can't send the mother bird away. You're mevatel the asay, now you get malchus because you can't do the asay anymore. That's one case. But what's the other case? So the Gemara l'chi tashkach, he told him, go find out, go check. He's a good Rebbe. Doesn't give the answer right away. He allows you to figure it out. Go figure it out. Sometimes I don't know the answer. I tell him, I say, go figure it out. Like hoping that he'd come back. But Rabbi Yochanan knew. So Gemara said, "Nafak dag va'ashkach." So Rabbi Elazar went out and he figured it out. The Tanya, he came back with a brisa. Oynas shegirish, a guy who was ma'anis, a naira besulo, and the halach is he has to marry her v'loisi leisha. And there's a lav luychal shachal kol yomav im Yisrael who. What if he divorced her? Machzevein aloika. He could still remarry, repair the lav, and make her his wife again. So he doesn't get malchus. Kohen is not allowed to marry a grusha, so he can't repair it. We saw yesterday. So I understand if you say kima v'lo kima lamad tani bitlo v'bitlo b'shloima shlucha kan gab shluch kem shkachas lo. I understand kima vatel the asay of sending the mother bird away by shechting the mother bird. What's the case by an oinus where you divorce her and then you're mavatel the asay to the point you can't remarry her? What would be the case where you can't remarry a woman that you divorced and you have to remarry her? What case where you mavatel the asay? What would be that case? A kohen, but by Yisrael, what would be the case? Kohen takas right away because you can't marry a grusha. What would be a case of Yisrael? Oh, so the Gemara says, Mishkachas the kotla killed her. He murders her. The Gemara says if he murders her, come live with the rabbi. You don't get malchus. You get misa. You're a murderer. So that can't be the case where you get malchus. Right? So what's the case against malchus?
You murder without witnesses.
Without
Edom.
I think, but since there's a chi of misa, even though you don't.
It's interesting.
Do I want to know what that is?
Kimle derabmin, they still apply.
It's not. Yeah, even if it's not practically executed. Right? No, even if the chi of
in theory,
there's a chi of misa that trumps. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that whole sugi and ksubas. Omer of Simon Mechazno, that can't be the case because Shtieble kedusha me'acher. It's if the guy who divorced her made himself a shliach, her shliach, and was makabel kedusha from somebody else. Now she becomes an eshes ish. So now I can't remarry her because she's an eshes ish. I was makabel kedusha for her. So I was mevatel the asay by being makabel kedusha on her behalf. Ask the Gemara, Omer Rav, 1 second, slow down. Isha visa shliach. If she was the one who made him a shliach, he can't just makabel kedusha for her. Just unannounced, uninvited, like just, by the way, I was a competition for you. No, it doesn't work that way. So, Isha visa shliach, if she was the one who made him into a shliach, he's not doing it. She's the one who's being mavatal, not him. We're talking about where he's mavatal yasei biyadayim. And if she wasn't the one who made him into shliach, kol kamine v'lei klomi. He's not never. How do you insert himself over here to be makabel kedushin for her on her behalf, right? We said yesterday he made a neder barabim. His neder was, I will never remarry you. Neder barabim, ein lo hafara. You can never annul such a neder, and therefore you're mavatal the asay of remarrying her. B'yodayim by making a neder barabim. Oh, that's Mishchayv Malchus, and that's the second case. Rabbi Yochanan was referring. That's where Elazar found. I found the second case. One is shaluch hakan, you kill the mother bird, and one is when you divorce a woman you're supposed to be married to for your entire life, and you make a neder, I'll never remarry a barabim. That's bitla sei b'yodayim. Asks the Gemara, Hanichlam ando Omar neder shel barabim lefara. Elamando Omar yesh le'afara Michael le'meimar. But the machlokas some say you could be made for such a neder. So therefore, it wasn't mavatla sei b'yodayim yet. Says the Gemara, no. Even according to that mando Omar, the madira al das rabim. He's madir al das rabim. That's even worse. Bar rabim means I do it in public. Al das rabim means that I look at everybody who's present. I say al datchem. Right? I'm doing it on your das. Which means now, to be made for such a neder, everybody's a different das, right? Everybody's a different, everybody's a different premise and context to the neder, so you can never be made for such a neder, and therefore, that would be considered a bittul asay biyadayim. More asks now, is there no other case where you have a chetimtza of violating a lav and then be mevatel asay biyadayim? I have another one. Ve'ike gezel. There chamonim olei sigzel. Torah says, don't steal. 4 lines in the bottom of Zayin Amud Aleph. Olei sigzel ve'heishav esegzela. And then there's a nitek la'asay because it says you have to return the gzela. But what happens if you burn it? If you burn it, so you should get malchus on the sig. I'll have another case. Why do you tell me there's only two? It's a third one. I have another one. Or mashkin the Rachmana Omar right? The malva cannot come into the loiva's house to take the force the mashkin out, and if he taka went in, right? You have to return it. Right? If you violated the law of entering the loiva's house, you have to return it. So what happens if he burns it and he can't return it? That's also a case of bitla sebi yadayim. You get malchus in such a lav. So why does Rabbi Yochanan say only two? I have another two. Where it says mishkachas lo b'kim v'kim lebitla b'litlay. Where it says hasam kivin b'tashlumin chayv b'tashlumin ein loika mishalim. No, if you burn it, it doesn't help. Why? Because you still have to pay. And if you have to pay, it's machlokas Rishonim exactly how to learn this Gemara. Now, if you have to pay, what would you say? What? And therefore, if you have to pay, so you weren't mevatel.
You're compensating.
You're compensating. You weren't mevatel liyaseh. Can't return the actual chayfetz, but you can return money. So that's still repairing, right? That's what you would say, right? That's how Tosfos learns. He's goyris, huh? He's rectifying. Kiv the chayv b'tashlumin, right? Therefore, it's kiv the chayv b'tashlumin. Therefore, it's still not a kiyum, or it's not a bittul of the aseh. Rashi learns the gear says ein loika mishalim. Since he's chayv b'tashlumin, so you have to choose tashlumin over malchus. You wouldn't get malchus. Avadi you're mevatel the aseh. But since there's a new chiyuv tashlum, it's not that tashlumin is a kiyum of a heshavas exela. It's once you have to pay, you have a new chiyuv to pay, so now you don't get malchus because kam lebed rab menei. But either way, you wouldn't get malchus. However you understand this, it wouldn't be a case of bittul aseh, or at least it wouldn't be a case of getting malchus. Maskef la Reb Zera. I have another hechatim, another case. Ikam ashkoine shel ger, a guy who takes a mashkin from a ger who's a loiva, right? The ger doesn't have yarshim, and now the malva forces the mashkin out of the ger's house. Shloik halach, he's opened the lav of leisovei al beisai, and then he burns the mashkin, and then umeisa ger, and then the ger dies. Now he can't pay anybody. So once I can't pay anybody, so now I'm stuck. I was malatul diyaseh. Now I was loiva in the lav, and I can't repair it anymore. So Gemara says no. If the ger dies, that's not called your bittul aseh. Hasam gaver batashlumin. I still want to pay. I have the money in I want to pay the ger. But shibuda the ger udukapaka. The ger dropped dead. So the ger dies. That's like the aseh is nisbatel me'elov. It's me'elov nisbatel. I didn't do it be a dayan.
It's still the aseh is still hanging. Let's say.
Right, and therefore you can't get malchus.
Comes and he is.
Perfect, exactly, and that's why you can't give him malchus if the ger dies, because he's taka still a bar tashlumin. It's just a technical, mechanical issue over here.
Isn't all this stuff becomes hefker though? It's all hefker.
What is that?
If the ger dies and he has no Yerushim, then all of a sudden it's now hefker.
Goes to the kain.
No, but this is unique.
You're asking even choivis if somebody owes the money ger and the ger dies.
Give it to tzedakah. What do you do?
Aha.
No, but this is unique because
So it's
No. Your stomach is hefker.
this
this is a unique mitzvah. It's an aseh. It's a mitzvah aseh. That's what you want to say. That's what you want to say. It's a mitzvah aseh. Okay, fine. I got it. Aha.
Pushing the car, the other guy ran for the keys. And then at the same time, one guy, and then it actually went to base and says, what do you
What's the story?
There's a ger died in Borough Park and he had no Yerushim. So these Shiv Bachrim were very smart. One of them ran to go move the car. The other one ran for the keys. At the same time, one of them is starting the car. The other one is moving the car physically.
Trying to make a kinyan.
Oh my god.
Went to Beis Din. I don't know how it came out, but I'm pretty sure that the
True story?
True story. I'm pretty sure that the Dayan probably said, "You guys need to, have some heart, man." It's kind of
That's
crazy.
you're busy with the guys in Abuch dead. He was like, he needs Kfur Yisrael, but he's grabbing his stuff. Yeah, it's a bizarre story. Yeah. I'm not saying it's not true. It could be. I could see it happening, but.
The story is great.
Yeah.
That's a true story.
There's a Gemara about brother who grabbed
Right.
the Gemara itself.
Yeah. I forgot his name.
He grabbed and he had
We had it about Basra. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
It's not far from
Okay, Zichru. I'm not sure. Remember, maybe it's about Matzia. Where
The
Rava was
Rava grabbing the
Yeah.
the cookie thing. Which one? Are you
not the
talking
height of the cookie. Like there was a ger. Somebody
We
trace your
talked about
alpha.
the ger sugyas in Bab Metzia, that if someone steals from a ger, the money goes to the kohen. Is that where it is? I don't know.
Okay, fine. Okay,
The
no,
cook
yeah.
literally.
No, there's another story. I don't remember. I remember some Gemara that doctor's mentioning. Yeah, but either way, the point is that he wasn't mavatal. The ger dying isn't him being mavatal le'aseh biyadayim. It's really I have the money. I'm a bar tashlum, just he dropped dead, so I can't pay him. So he's That's the shabud of the ger to kapaka. That's on its own. Whereas I have another case of ikapeya. Yeah, the mitzvah says peya. Pay means you have to leave over the edge of your field to the ani. And zalav, right? Don't consume, don't cut, don't harvest the tvua in the edge of the field. Mitzvah say, alav, and then followed by an asay. So the Gemara says, what happens if the mishkach is lebekim if it's mavatul the asay? How can you mavatul the asay? Titnan mitzvah spei la'afresh menakama. The katchila, the mitzvah is to be mafresh while it's still connected, attached to the ground when it's stalks. Lo yafresh min hakama, mafresh min ha'oimrim. So if you harvested it already and didn't leave it over to the ani, then you have to give some of the oimrim of the tvua. You have to give some of the bundles. Lo yafresh min ha'oimrim. If you didn't do it from there, mafresh min hakri. Yeah, you have to give it from the pile. Achelo mirech, until you didn't winnow that pile, you're mechuyev to give to the ani. Mirchai, once you winnowed, ma'aser v'noisen loy, then you first give meiser and then you give it. Because once it becomes mechuyev meiser, first you meiser and then you give whatever you owe to the ani, so the ani shouldn't lose out and have to meiser anything. And then once you reach that stage, let's say you take it from there and you start grinding it, you're not mechuyev to be the mitzvah pay anymore. So here you have a case of you violated a lav of l'sechala pa'asatcha, and you can't be mekayim mitzvah say. Why? Because you already ground it into flour. Once it's grounded into flour, you're not mechuyev pay anymore. So you have a case of getting malchus by a lav anitik laseh, where you mevatel liyaseh. You take the stalks and you make it into flour. Once it reaches the stage of flour, you can't be mekayim the mitzvah say anymore. L'sechala pa'asatcha. The guy went and he did harvest the edge of the field, which he's supposed to leave over for the ani. So he could still give it at a later stage, but at some point, once it becomes flour, he cannot be mekayim the mitzvah say anymore. So once he's mevatel the mitzvah say by making it into flour, so now you can be mechuyev malchus for the l'schala pasatcha. So you have another case where you have a lav and itik laseh, you mevatel the aseh, you chayiv malchus on the lav. Why isn't Rabbi Yochanan giving that as one of the examples? Yeah. What's the aseh?
It's an aseh. If you, let's say,
Lo yisachal is a lav.
you're chayiv, let's say, if it says that you're don't eat treif. So if you eat chazer, then you're chayiv malchus, right?
Yeah.
But let's say it says give meiser, or give meiser. Are you chayiv malchus if you don't give meiser?
No, it has to be first lav. It's a case of a lav. It has to be a case of a lav and then followed by an asay and then mevatel the asay, which is the case of peya. So the Gemara says the truth is you could still be mekayim the mitzvah of the asay even after you grind it into flour. Because Rabbi Shmuel, the Omar af mafresh min isi, even if you make it into dough, and then you remember, oh my gosh, I didn't give peya. Even if it's already dough in the oven, you could still give peya. Rabbi Shmuel nami mishkachasla the achalisa, but what if you eat it? So even according to Rabbi Shmuel, you mevatel the asay. At that point, you mevatel the asay. If you ate the dough, then you're mamash mevatel the mitzvah asay.
If you didn't tochen the chitin for a year.
Huh? If you didn't grind it?
For a year.
Yeah, as long as you didn't grind it, you're good to go. But once you grind it, according to Tanakama, or once you eat the dough, according to Bishmol, at that point, it's impossible to fulfill the asay anymore. So there, at that point, you mechuyev malchus. And says Gemara, lezois va'od acheres, aha, you're right. When Rabbi Yochanan said, I have two examples of a lav anitik lasay, where you could get malchus once you mevatel the asay, there are two examples of that. What are those two examples? Chevra, the two examples is shiluch hakan, when you shech the mother bird. If you're over l'sikach eim alabonim, and then you take the mother, you shecht it, you can't be mashalechet anymore. That's one. The other is if you eat the dough of peya after you violated l'sechala, then you're mevatel the mitzvah asay and you get malchus on that.
You can still use you could create fertilizer after eating it, and then replant it. And
give it to the ani.
And then
replant it and then give from that.
And then you have new peya.
Right. No man the Omer holds that works. Rabbi Shmuel goes up to the dough stage. Yeah, that's good.
It's no longer.
It's interesting because what you could really ask is just like by gezel, right? If you burn the gzela that you have to give back, you say that it's not a bittul because you can pay money. Why should you be able to pay money to an ani, right? If it's matnas aniyim, so let him pay money to the ani even after you ate it. right? Let him do tashlumin, just like Bagzela. I think there's a big rate about this, whether matnas aniyim is momen aniyim or not. In other words, it could be that you can't pay money for something I never stole from you, because it doesn't really become momen aniyim until I give it to the ani. Just a chiyuv to give it to the ani, but it's not momen aniyim yet.
No cash value.
No cash value for the ani, right? As long as he didn't get it, so Mamela Tashluma doesn't fit in such a case. So therefore, by Isa, by the point you ate the Isa, you're done. So Aval Oines Loi, huh?
By the two witnesses who are in Zoman.
Yeah.
Once Mardin takes place and the murderer gets killed, there's no Indian of the in Zoman, right?
Right.
So once it
Kasher Zama v'le Kasher Rasa, right? Yeah.
Okay, it's because of the pasuk. So they
Yeah.
not say to the Kasher Zama.
Yeah.
So as soon as the Mardin is taking place,
It's a similar concept, right?
So it's a
Right. Interesting concept over there. Yeah. Okay. Aval Oines Loi, but in Oines, you wouldn't get. You can't be mavatal the asev in Oines, right? If you, let's say a person's ma'anas a girl, and then he has to marry her and then divorces her, so there's no bittul aseh. Why? The Gemara wanted to say earlier, what if you make it a neder never to remarry her, and it doesn't have a afar if you do all das rabim, so that's a bittul aseh? Gemara says no, that's only the dvar rishos. When you make a neder al das rabim l'dvar rishos, there's ein la afara. Aval l'dvar mitzvah yesh la afara. Dvar mitzvah, even if you do all das rabim, if it's a tzorich mitzvah, you could still be made for it, and therefore there is no heichatimtza, no case of being mevatel the asay when you divorce a girl, a woman that you're supposed to stay married to forever. So Gemara says, "Yehoda mikra dar to gedav apasha b'yenuka," just like this Rebbe.
Otherwise, people will do this trick.
Aha. Otherwise, they'll do the trick of
And they're not going to marry her.
Make the neder.
make the neder. No, they get malchus then. They get malchus.
Okay,
they get the lashes and they move on.
Exactly.
Rather get those lashes than the lashes staying married to her. Okay, say that.
Put his arm in somebody's video.
Okay, very good. Okay.
He's a sick man.
All right, coming from a okay, say it.
After all, he's the rapist.
Got a point.
You got a point, Chipshon. There was a Rebbe who would hit the children. Yoser Midai, Rashi says. He would hit them a lot. Right? Makkos the Deacon Rashi. He would hit them a lot. I got hit when I was a kid in school. Okay, so Mela, question how much? How many times?
Necessary.
Yeah, Rashi says more than necessary. Yeah, Yoser Midai. Anyway, Adrei Ravacha said, Al Das Rabim, we don't let you teach anymore. We fire you, and we don't teach it. Ravina said no, he's made for that neder. Why? Because nobody was able to teach as well as this guy, even though he was abusive. Right? In today's day, you will say, it's the guys, you got child, you guys just doesn't sit in prison. Now, Lamaisa, there's one more case. Interestingly enough, there's one more case where you have a lava nitek la'aseh. We just had chametz on Pesach, right? If a guy buys chametz on Pesach, that's a lav sheyesh b'mais is over b'al yirah b'al yimatzah. The Rambam says he's chayv malchus. Then you have an aseh of tashbisu to burn it. So you buy it, you're violating lav b'al yirah b'al yimatzah. And once you're tashbisu, then what? It's a lav nitek l'aseh. And yet the Rambam says you get malchus. Why do you get malchus? Lav nitek l'aseh. All the achronim are busy with this kasha. Right? Why do you get malchus? Lav nitek l'aseh. What? Doesn't matter. Every lav, even if you do a little bit. No, a lav anitik laseh, there's no malchus. That's the cloud.
Because the burden doesn't.
Tashbisu is mavata. It repairs it, doesn't it? I get rid of it.
No.
Buy your buy matzah is a lav. I can't own chametz on Pesach. I go out and buy chametz. I'm violating a lav. Why can I be masakin with tashbisu?
Second is an avera, so you only. Every second is an avera.
Ah.
That last second where the destruction.
Very nice. Okay. Could be somebody says it. There's so many thousands of Terutzim in this Rambam. Probably one of them.
The thing is that because you Davka went out and you bought it, the Lota says is having it in your possession as Pesach comes in. But when you're going out of your way to go buy it and make a new kinyan,
Tashbisa doesn't help for that.
it helps, but it's still.
No, but if okay.
help you get out of
Interesting.
madness.
Okay, very interesting. I just want to finish with this. Interestingly enough, the Rambam at the end of Hilchos Sanhedrin Perek Yutes and Hilchos Sanhedrin, I looked it up today. He says from the 365 lavin, how many lavin do you get malchus on? He gets 207. His number is 207. He says the simon is Yilku Zaydim the Gematria Or. Very good. Gematria Or. Megalamukas. Megalamukas actually says 208. Why 208? Because by Yoel Gold, the Rambam counted as 1. He says it's 2. But either way, 208, Gematria, Yitzchak. Why? Yitzchak is Midas Adin. And how many mitzvahs Asay do we have? 248. Gematria Avram. Avram is Midas Chesed. So I have Avram, which is Asay, which is Ava, Midas Chesed. That's 248. Asay is always Ava. And you have 208. According to the Galamukas, you have 208, which is Yitzchak, Gematria Yitzchak, which is Midas Adin. And that's the amount. Good number to remember. Shaila is, because Lav Nitik Laseh or Lav Shem Maisi, you don't get Malkus on. We just learned today. Shaila is, what about by Yoel Gold? So you have many truths for that, why the Rambam includes that in the list of Malkus. Okay, we'll stop over here.
Okay, Rocky, tell me what happened.